Chapter 6: The Sleeper Spaceship. It started as a typical camping trip, a family of 4 seeking peace and quiet deep in the woods, far from the noise and distractions of city life. But what they found buried beneath the earth was something no one could have predicted, a discovery that would turn their world upside down. The sun had already begun to dip below the horizon when Sarah, Dave, and their 2 children, Emily and Jack, made their way to their campsite. The forest was dense and the air was thick with the scent of pine and earth. It was the perfect place to escape from the hectic pace of their daily lives. They had all been looking forward to this. No phones, no distractions, just the sound of the wind in the trees and the crackle of a campfire. Setting up camp was easy enough, though the site felt oddly quiet. The forest, usually teeming with wildlife, seemed almost too still. No chirping birds, no rustling leaves from small animals. It was as if the woods themselves were holding their breath. "Let's get the fire going," Dave said, his voice a little too eager to shake off the strange tension that had settled over them. He fumbled with the kindling, trying to light it, while Emily and Jack played near the edge of the clearing. Sarah, sitting on a log nearby, couldn't help but glance around the trees, her unease growing as the silence continued to press in. "Mom, come look at this!" Emily's voice suddenly cut through the quiet. Sarah stood up quickly, the sudden call pulling her from her thoughts. She hurried toward her daughter, finding her and Jack near a small, half-hidden depression in the ground. At first, it looked like an odd formation in the earth, nothing remarkable, but then Sarah saw it. The shape was wrong. The edges were too straight, the dirt covering it too even. "What is it?" Sarah asked, kneeling beside Emily, her heart starting to race. The depression looked unnatural, as though something had been buried there, something large. "I don't know," Emily said, her eyes wide with curiosity, "but it looks like metal?" Dave walked over, hearing the conversation, and crouched beside Sarah. His eyes widened in disbelief when he saw what they were pointing to. The object, half submerged in dirt, had a distinct metallic sheen to it, almost like polished steel, but with strange alien patterns etched on its surface. The shape was unmistakably cylindrical, its edges sleek and smooth. "Let's dig it out," Dave said, his voice filled with excitement. "This could be something really cool." "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Sarah asked, her voice filled with hesitation. The feeling in her gut had gone from unease to something more visceral. Something was wrong with this place. But Dave, eager to uncover something, had already started digging. It only took a few minutes before they had uncovered the full shape of the object, a massive cylindrical metal structure, about 20 feet long, partially buried in the earth. It looked like a wrecked spaceship, its surface covered with strange symbols that none of them could read. It's not just an old piece of junk," Jack said, his voice filled with awe as he stared at the markings. "It's a ship." "An alien ship?" Emily asked, her eyes wide with excitement. Dave stood up, brushing dirt off his hands. "I don't know, but it sure looks like it." For the next hour, they worked together to clear more of the dirt away, the eerie silence of the forest surrounding them. The further they dug, the more they uncovered. A hatch set deep in the side of the ship, sealed shut. It was old, its edges worn, but it seemed to have been built to last. Dave looked at Sarah. "We have to open it. We have to see what's inside." "Dave, we don't know what this is. What if it's dangerous?" Sarah protested, her voice trembling now. "What if it's better to leave it alone?" But it was too late. Dave had already moved to the hatch, trying to pry it open. His face was flushed with excitement, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were making a huge mistake. The more she looked at the object, the more it felt wrong, like something they weren't meant to find. With a final effort, Dave managed to twist the hatch open. The ground seemed to shake as it creaked, the air around them growing colder. A sudden gust of wind swept through the clearing, making the trees rustle and sway, though the forest had been eerily still just moments before. The hatch opened with a groan, revealing the dark interior of the ship. Inside it was almost completely black, the walls lined with strange glowing symbols that flickered faintly. But what really caught their attention was the shape of the ship's interior. It looked like a long, metallic chamber, and something was moving inside. Then the sound came, a low, groaning hiss, like air being released from an ancient seal. The walls of the ship began to pulse with a faint, eerie light, and a cold mist started to leak out from within. Something was awakening. "Oh my God," Sarah whispered, her breath catching in her throat. "What is that?" The sound grew louder, and then, one by one, figures began to emerge from the darkness inside the ship. Tall, lanky, with elongated limbs, their bodies cloaked in tight metallic suits that glimmered with strange patterns. They moved with terrifying precision, their eyes glowing faintly as they slowly turned their attention towards the group of campers. "Get away from it!" Sarah screamed, grabbing her children's arms and pulling them back. "Run!" But the creatures were already moving, their limbs stretching unnaturally long as they stepped out of the ship, their glowing eyes locked onto the family. The atmosphere around them thickened as the ship's systems powered up, the eerie hum of machinery filling the air. Suddenly, one of the creatures extended its hand, and a strange, pulsating energy filled the air. Sarah felt the air grow even colder as the creature's power reached out, and in that instant her body froze. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. She could feel something inside her mind, slithering, moving inside her thoughts, taking over. The others were similarly immobilized, their bodies stiffening as the creatures approached them with calm, deliberate steps. Their eyes glowed brighter now, and Sarah could see the alien intelligence in their gaze. The creatures were no longer just awakening, they were taking control. For a moment, everything went still. Then the air exploded with energy. In an instant, everything shifted. The creatures moved in a blur, their speed unnatural as they surrounded the family. The last thing Sarah remembered before blacking out was the cold touch of one of their hands on her forehead, the alien presence seeping into her mind, filling her with darkness. When Sarah awoke, she was no longer in the forest. She was standing at the helm of the alien ship, the cold metallic surface beneath her feet vibrating with power. The others were beside her, their eyes vacant, their movements mechanical. The aliens had taken control. They weren't just aliens, they were something worse. The invaders had been sleeping for centuries, lying dormant beneath the earth, waiting for the right moment. And now they had awakened, and they weren't about to stop. As Sarah stood there, the realization struck her like a thunderclap. She wasn't just a prisoner. She was part of the invasion. The alien consciousness had infected her, had infected all of them. They were no longer themselves. The aliens weren't just using them. They had become them. And as the ship powered up, ready to ascend, Sarah's eyes met those of the others, their vacant stares locking onto hers. The invasion had begun, and they were no longer human.
Thank you for listening to this story. Your support means a lot and helps keep these tales coming. If you enjoyed it, please take a moment to subscribe and follow for more dark and immersive stories just like this one. New horrors await. Don't miss what's coming next.